to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hout.
Oh, I guess I should go third. I'm Maddie Grace Webb, and I'm here this time.
Hey.
Special guest.
And I am Sam, the game prof, also a special guest. Why am I also in the other recording thing? Still.
I don't know. It's weird. We messed up, guys.
We did.
We fucked. We're sorry. We're trying to remove it.
Myself. We're good. Yeah. Anyway, hi, I'm Sam, the game professor.
Hi.
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 And today we will be discussing the entirety of Disc 3. Buckle up. We're doing a whole disc. It's going to be a whole lot of covering.
The final third of the game.
That's right.
Pretty much the whole is going to be talking about Knights of the Round. So...
as a reminder, we played the most sellout JRPG of all time so that we can get eyes on our poll to choose our next game, which will either be Skies of Arcadia or Paper Mario. Let me see if Paper Mario has more than one vote. It didn't last I checked.
So does voting end, do we close it off next episode? Or maybe
no, we usually close it off now.
Oh.
It does remind me. So let me check. Instead of looking up to see the lulls, let me see if it does. Paper Mario has
I wonder what will win. I'm on the edge of my seat, guys.
Paper Mario has had a come from behind second place with 2 votes.
Nice.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
And how many votes does Skies of Arcadia have?
8 votes.
Man, that was a real nail biter. I had no idea.
8 is a bigger number than 2.
It is. So shout outs to everyone who voted. It was really awesome of you to agree to play the game that we really, really wanted this time. It's never happened before. So I'm glad.
Well, I think it's because I think everyone decided, sure, why not? We'll just go with what the hosts actually want, because the alternative wouldn't have been actually that funny or painful. Like, we would have had like you guys all would have had a good time playing Paper Mario, so why would they bother voting for it?
It's true. It's not like they could vote for Septerracore.
Exactly. If they could vote to make us play Septerracore again, I'm sure they would.
They absolutely would.
Those little sicko freaks.
When are they going to release Octerracore, the sequel?
That's right.
So yeah, we'll be playing Skies of Arcadia in 2 weeks' time. So shout outs to everyone who voted. That was super awesome of you.
Let's go.
If you still want to head on over to www.rpgbook.club, you can still donate and get some awesome Book Club no Kaseki episodes, but the poll is now officially closed. So while everyone goes and checks out the website, how was everyone's week? Maddie, you can only talk about specifically 1 week. You have to pick which one of the weeks that you want to talk about.
1 week since so the reason why I'm here this week is because last Monday I tested positive with COVID, and who here has had COVID so far?
Yes.
Me.
Not I. I've made it this far.
Nice.
Man, I made it over 3 entire years and was like, hell yeah, I'm killing it. And then I got it.
I'm going to be so pissed when I finally get it, because it's inevitable.
I looked back through my social life and was thinking, like, what did I do? Was I irresponsible? Was I stupid? And I mean, I like most people, I've had trouble continuing to actually be responsible and COVID safe. It's hard when no one else cares, especially not the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I didn't really do too much. So I'm pretty sure I just got it from work, which makes me extra mad because the thing that I was mad about maybe last time I was here that I was yelling about, where my job laid off the new drivers and we have to work back inside the building now. That's probably why I got COVID, because now I'm working back inside the building. Right? Yep. It sucks. Anyway, the worst part is, I gave it to like 4 other people.
Oh, that sucks.
No.
I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure I was like a super spreader. Luckily, none of the other people that got it have reported. They've all been like, oh, it's been pretty chill. Anyway, point is, I've had COVID. It sucks. It was rough too. Like the first 48 hours or so were I think the sickest I've ever been in my life. Like, it was horrible. Holy cow. I felt like I didn't feel like I was going to die or anything. I didn't feel like it was literally like the kind of COVID where you got to go to the hospital. And I know a lot of people get that. So I was, I was still fortunate as far as COVID goes, right? But, wow, it was bad. But then after that, I very quickly bounced back and it just became like a medium cold. But then I had these symptoms that just lingered for days and days and days. And the last symptom was this really nasty, like, brain fog, where just the whole day I'm just walking around like I'm in a daze. And considering that my job is driving a motor vehicle, I'm like, well, I really hope this isn't like a long COVID thing. Like, I looked it up, and I know you should never look up sickness online, but I'm like, people have reported brain fog lasting for months.
Oh,
because long COVID is a thing.
Long COVID
and I'm like, that would ruin my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That could make me unable to do my job, right? Luckily, due to some law, UPS gives you 10 days off if you get maximum of 10 days off if you get COVID. So I'm using all 10 of those. Anyway, point is, as of just today, my brain fog is finally pretty much going away. So thank God, because it was going on long enough that I was starting to be like, oh God, what's going to happen, Anyway, but the good news is now I've got a few more days off work and I'm feeling quite a bit better, which is why I'm here with you all.
Yay.
And I didn't have time to do too much enjoyable things because I really did spend most of my time sleeping and being sick. But I did play through the entirety of Resident Evil 4, not the remake. I actually forgot they were making a remake. I didn't even know they were making a remake until I was already 5 hours into the old one. But I never actually played more than 2 chapters of it. So I played the whole thing. It's a great game.
Funny. I did the exact same thing a couple weeks ago.
Nice. It rules. I have some critiques of it. It goes on a bit. It's a bit long. Most of the best levels are probably the ones earlier in the game, but it's full of amazing set pieces. What a wonderful game. I mean, it's not much of a critique of a game to say it's not as good as God Hand or Metal Gear Solid 3 or Resident Evil 1, which it's not as good as any of those games. But yeah, great game. I also, literally yesterday, played through the entirety from start to finish of Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins. I'm going to say it. Overrated.
Oh, I've overrated it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I liked
but it's good.
But people lose their mind about that game. Talk about how it's so good. I think its mechanics are very dull.
Maybe
but
it's just because of how much better it is than the first Super Mario Land.
It's not, though. That's the thing. It's not even. I mean, I haven't played the original in a long time, so maybe it's worse than I remembered. But
I think it is.
It doesn't play like a Mario game. It plays like the mini mascot platformers on the SNES that aren't Mario and don't have very interesting mechanics or physics. That's what it plays like. Anyway, it's got some great graphics, though. Great graphics and music. All kinds of cute little guys. Also, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Even better than I remembered it. Fantastic movie. Absolutely great. It's worth watching, not just because you have to watch it in order to watch the much better Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is a masterpiece.
I still haven't watched War for the Planet of the Apes.
Me either. Me and my girlfriend are going to watch the rest
of actual original first Planet of the Apes, and I need to fix that.
Me and my GF are going to watch. Yeah,
are in Rise and Dawn. I'm sorry, I always get them mixed up
Rise
because they're named
first.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're
Rise
named wrong.
About the dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is about the rise.
That's what happens when you don't know if your second movie is going to get greenlit. When you make your first one, you don't think, wait a second, we got to make sure we don't name this movie a name that would be better for the sequel that doesn't exist yet.
Dawn and Rise mean pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, but if you watch it, you'll see.
The first one is about the very, very inception of it, and the second one is about how it's actually becoming a thing now.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
Rise implies a growth of strength and power, not just something existing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, point is, great movie. I just cannot express how good it is. And let's see what else. Also, Ryan Johnson's detective television show Poker Face.
I need to see that.
Fantastic. Starring Natasha Lyonne. Absolutely
I'm not
excellent.
surprised. I'm not surprised.
It's especially good if you, like me, really glommed onto a lot of the more, I don't know, a lot of the more, like, metatextual themes of Glass Onion, especially, though also Knives Out. It is so much in conversation with those two works. Like, the main theme of, I think, both movies, but especially Glass Onion, of, like, truth. It's subverting the detective idea, because, and I'm stealing this idea partially from whoever wrote an article, from Eileen Jones, who wrote an article for Jacobin magazine, but, like, he's subverting the detective form, because the detective fiction is very much a product of 19th century Enlightenment, and it's specifically like bourgeois Enlightenment, and it's very much like, no, I'm sorry, exposing discovering the truth is not how you obtain power. Like, truth does not mean power. Technocratic solutions are not how you fix society. Knowing something and becoming aware of it does not defeat your enemy. Like that's a very simplistic way of saying my point here. But Poker Face is extremely an analysis of that. It's like, yeah, it's a detective story. She solves murders. But that's a relatively minor element. And not only does it explore truth, but it also explores in many ways the efficacy of lying and untruth. It's very, very good. It's excellent. And also, I'm acting like it's some deep philosophical thing. No, it's Natasha Lyonne being the hottest woman in the world and accidentally being around murders constantly and solving them in her special way, and also being so small. Yeah, so that pretty much sums up all the things that I did during the week that I had COVID.
I love when there are things like, Murder, She Wrote, where just a normal person just keeps being around murders.
Yeah, well,
and like even in like Ace Attorney, that starts to happen where they're just going around. They're not like approached by someone who has been accused.
Yep.
They're just going around, and then a murder happens next to them, and they're like, "Well, shit.
That's only
Guess we're
happened
gonna
on
have
Columbo.
to represent someone."
That's actually happened on Columbo once so far. This episode where Columbo goes on a cruise for vacation, and on this cruise, a murder happens. And he has to solve it before they get to land, because he knows, he has a hunch that the cops who will technically have jurisdiction once they land will probably not solve the case properly or something. Oh, and one more thing. You mentioned being around murders. Here's the thing. Poker Face does it one better. More than once, she kind of causes the murder.
Nice.
And by which I mean she interacts with either the murderer or the victim in such a way that sets off a domino effect that does in fact lead to someone getting murdered. And I'm like, that sucks so bad. Yeah, it's a great show. Anyway, yeah, so I got to catch up on a lot of fun media in between, sleep, my brain being dead, and now I get to actually record an episode of this game with you all, which, of course, to remind the listener, in case y'all forgot, I have not been playing. All right, I'm done now.
Cool. I don't even remember anything that happened to me this week. I DM'd for Lasers and Feelings this week instead of Bernard, and everyone had a lot of fun. And
it was great.
I heard about all stupid character names.
Yeah, I had the wonderful idea that we were all going to be red shirts on our starship, and every single dice fail was going to be a character death. And then the very first roll of the game was a failure, and I tried to backpedal, but then thankfully my players were like, no, everyone should die. I want everyone to die in some way for the failed things, because it was a failed like communications roll. They were supposed to just talk to someone, and they failed, and so that person killed them.
I think in the fiction, Nurse Brenadrill survived.
Yeah.
Someone stabilized her. I think one of my characters stabilized her, and
Yeah.
she survived. But a lot of player characters died because we would just swap in new player characters.
Yeah, and then we accidentally created the fly situation between a character named one if Byland and primary gimmick, and so luckily those names can combine to one off gimmick, which is brilliant. And so they
killed myself.
They both got shoved into the same teleporter pattern buffer and are going to come out in a horrible amalgamation next week, and it'll be great.
Also, one of Byland was part of a duo with Toof Bicey. One of them always lies and one of them always tells the truth. One if is the one that always lies, and he just got disappeared immediately by a transporter accident. So then I had a guy who always tells the truth, which in itself is not terribly interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, pause. Hey, guys, guess what? This is the 25th birthday of the Japanese release, the original Japanese release of Parasite Eve.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Interesting.
Parasite Eve, the 25th birthday.
That feels weird to me because it's a Christmas game.
It's 100% a Christmas game.
Well, it's also a New Year's game.
Yeah, why did it come out on March 28th? Who knows?
Yeah.
Go on. I wanted to share that because we played that game on the pod and it's great.
Yeah. But yeah, Lasers and Feelings is very fun.
It's a good game.
It's very, very simple, and it's basically just improv with your friends and then kill 16 characters in one night. Most DMs are afraid of doing a total party kill. Well, I did 3 of them in one night.
Skill issue.
That's pretty much my week too. So,
yeah. What about you, Negasam?
Well, my partner, my spouse, got top surgery, so that was the thing.
Go.
We had to go to Nashville for that, and it was at like 5 a.m. So it was a whole thing. So good for them. They are recovering now and doing fine. We've got some friends over to help out with that. Some friends with experience with that sort of thing. So yeah, that's happening. Meanwhile, let's see. Also, I think I talked about how I played Resident Evil 4 because that was a while ago, but I also did that. It's good. I hope that the remake gives it an ending, because the ending was very much like the kind of rushed, like, oh, okay, I guess it's done now ending that happened a lot back then. I'm playing the remake now, actually. It's also quite good so far. I have started getting back into Trails in the Sky SC. So that's exciting. Enjoying that. Obviously, it is fantastic. It's been a long time since I started playing it, but it took me no time at all to get reinvested emotionally in it because it's good. Oh gosh, what else? I thought I started playing something else, but maybe not. Okay,
who can say?
Yeah, who knows?
Oh, I just remembered the other thing that I did, speaking of games. I started playing both Stellaris and City Skylines, so I'm officially divorced because you can't be married and play a very large number go up game like either of those.
That's right.
So,
there you go.
Did any of you guys actually play? Any of you guys actually watch John Wick 4?
Not yet.
I haven't seen 3 yet, actually. I need to.
I
do
haven't
that.
seen 1 yet. It
It made me so
really
depressed
do
because
that.
I'm
It's
like
like-
the hugest John Wick fan. I'm like the biggest John Wick nut. And in case you're curious, other Sam, 3, in my opinion, is actually the best one. So that's why I was extra excited for 4. I had my tickets bought and everything, and then I got COVID, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I've been I actually care a lot about the like lore and the plot of those movies. Some people think that it's just like dumb and like when are they going to stop talking and start killing a million dudes? But I find it all very fascinating and interesting. So I've been trying very hard to avoid spoilers, and waiting till I'm better so I can go watch the movie. And I'm glad that none of y'all have seen it because if you had, I'd be mad.
Yeah,
My
not like that. So, like, I don't know. For me, the way that one of the most unique and interesting things about the first two movies was the way that it basically was like, hey, what if we make a movie about a hitman, but also it has like mythology, not just like lore or world details, but like it genuinely feels like mythology surrounding.
No, I agree. And really the third one, in my opinion, goes from being interesting to I found it very thematically poignant and impactful, for reasons I won't go into, because I've already yammered enough. But if 4 is even more of that, John Wick 4 is 2 hours and 49 minutes long.
Yup.
Wow.
That's really long for...
And that's after editing. It was apparently closer to 4 originally.
Yeah, that's really long for a movie where a guy shoots a zillion people. Like, a high-intensity movie like that usually is short, right? But I've heard it's got both an absurd amount of shooting guys and also a stupendous amount of dudes talking around about weird lore shit. So I'm like, hell yeah.
My friend Noel did spoil one thing about it for me. He told me that he turns himself into Pickle Wick.
I was going to make a similar thing and say that John Wick's at the end.
God.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was the biggest tragedy of my week.
When you said you were so depressed about it, I was really scared that meant you had seen it and it was bad.
Yeah, same.
Oh, no. I should have clarified. No, I was already sad that my work schedule would mean I couldn't see it opening night and I would have to wait like 3 days. And then when I realized I have to wait like 2 weeks to see it, I was just like, no. Because like I've been looking forward to this movie it was supposed to come out 2 years ago.
Yeah. It and Matrix 4 were going to come out on the same day.
Oh, gosh.
Literally 2 years ago. And then, COVID happened and all that. And then had all these delays and stuff. So it's just like, goddamn. I love Keanu Reeves. I love it when he grapples a guy and then shoots other guys while grappling a guy and then shoots the guy that he grappled.
I like when he says, passage.
Yeah. Apparently, in addition to this being the longest movie yet, he also has like the fewest lines of dialogue yet. And I'm like, let's fucking go. That is what I'm here for.
You love to see it.
The fourth movie actually has the highest rating on Rotten Tomatoes of all of them. So that
yeah, no, all the critics have been losing their goddamn bonkers for it. So no, I'm sure it's an absolute masterpiece of Kino.
Yeah, I will try and watch all of them because they sound exactly like something I would like. But the same way that Maddie will not watch a show, I will not watch a film. I just won't do it, and I don't know why. I will watch all of One Piece. I will watch all of Bold and the fucking Beautiful. But 2 hours of my time, it's too much. I can't do it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, what I will watch is an extended FMV that is so large that it takes up most of the amount of disk space for disc 3 of Final Fantasy VII.
That's right.
So let's listen to some music and then talk about the plot of the game.
So I didn't write notes this week because I'm pretty sure I can remember everything that happens.
I don't know. It's a lot, but if you think so.
So
actually, y'all are gonna have to catch me up because I haven't listened to the last episode yet. I know in general y'all played most of it. Where exactly did last weekend?
So when we last left our heroes, they had just killed Hojo.
Mm-hmm.
In Midgar Part 2.
Yes.
and they haven't fought the Turks yet.
No,
No.
they did.
They have done everything up to and including Cloud and Tifa fucked on the Highwind when everyone wasn't looking.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, is that the last scene before the disc change?
Yes.
Gotcha. I couldn't remember if that happened right before or right after the disc change. That's pretty much what I was talking about.
Yeah, weird for the game to have like an extremely graphic 13-minute sex scene between the two main characters in PS1 graphics, but I'm here for it. That's cool.
Yeah. And it only happens if you romance Tifa. If you get Aerith, obviously nothing happens there. So it's like that's really proof that it's canon.
I mean, it's more of the tragedy of Aerith's death early on.
Even though it's
get that scene for her.
Yeah, so instead,
if you
just
get,
cries.
No, if you get Clarith, you just get a 15 minutes FMV of him jerking it and crying.
No.
So what does actually happen in this disc, Bernard?
So when we last left our heroes, they had just gone to they had just docked at the northern crater so that they can go kick Sephiroth's ass. So they do that. They descend down into the cave. It's a pretty good dungeon. There's some interesting stuff where you've got to choose which way to go, and you can send people to go different ways. And
we should definitely put the cave music as the transition music that just happened, because as a kid I used to not like the cave aesthetically or its music. I was like, what kind of dramatic final dungeon is this? This is bullshit. I have since become an adult, and I think that the cave is an excellent final dungeon. I love its aesthetics. I love the idea that you're descending into the bowels of the earth. You're not in some cool castle, or floating island, or you're not in some super cool thing. You're just going into the middle of the planet, because it's Final Fantasy VII, dude. Anyway, I think the music is fantastic, even though it does sound like a cut track from FF6. I don't mean that as a criticism. I just mean FF6 and FF7 have different tonal vocabularies. And this sounds like a track from FF6 and not a track from FF7. It's kind of weird. Some of its chords, those chords have never appeared in this game. Those chords are from the previous game. But yeah, it's very, very good. So we should make sure the viewers, the listeners, get to hear that song.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we go through the cave. We have the classic moment where everyone is getting ready for the final showdown, and Cloud says, "Let's mosey." And
honestly, one of the coolest motherfuckers to ever do it. He's finally become an actual cool guy.
Yeah. And I was wondering in the remake, once they get to the end, because I just found out it's episodic, is Cloud going to say "Let's mosey"? And then eventually there was that E3 demo, and I saw footage of it, and Cloud said, "Hunker down over there," and I was like, he's gonna say "Let's mosey."
He's definitely going to. Not just because it's like, whenever they did a new non-Ted Wolty translation of FF6, they still kept Kefka saying "There's sand in my boots," or they'll always keep "You spoony bard" in FF4 or whatever as a nod to the quote the fans. Normally I don't like that kind of thing, and in FF7, even if it wasn't for that reason, they would do it because that's actually completely the correct characterization of Cloud. It 100% is. And seeing how much they nailed Cloud in the remake, how much they got his characterization perfect, I'm like, oh no, they are setting it up so that the way that they're writing Cloud in this game means that it would be ridiculous for them to not keep him saying "Let's mosey."
Absolutely.
It's such a great line. And then what happens after that? Doesn't Barrett get annoyed that Cloud didn't say something cooler?
Yeah.
Sid. It does.
It was Barrett for me, I thought
it was Sid.
Well, maybe it depends on who's in your party.
No, because the whole gang's there. I don't know. One of us is remembering wrong, unless it's randomized.
Yeah.
Which
it could be.
And it's one of the people who cusses a lot, so it's either Sid or Barrett.
Yes.
I explicitly remember the @ exclamation points.
They should make Ketchi cuss a lot in the remake. Anyway, so after that great scene, the party's like, whoa, off screen, there's a lot of bad guys coming.
Yeah.
So Cloud and 2 other people go ahead to actually do the final fight, while everyone else fights all these enemies that we don't get to see.
It's so like stage play, right? Like characters look off to stage left. Oh my god, look at that crazy thing that's happening over there.
It's so silly, and I love it. But then we, have a weird scene where like Sephiroth is floating and the party is floating, and Sephiroth is like fucking them up, but then they're like, we have a force of anime will. And then we have a fight with Genova Synthesis.
One thing I love about the anime floating scene is everyone says their we'll never give up, we'll never surrender little speech. Then a menu pops up to tell you to build your party, and it's not like those 3 then say, all right, we're going in. Sephiroth does a bigger magic and it blows away everyone except for your party. And it's such a weird thing to me. It's like, it's not like, oh, I'm choosing this party. It's I got to choose who Sephiroth didn't kill as much.
Yeah, it's very funny. One thing I want to say here, there's about to be 3 fights. There's 3 final boss fights. The perfect number, I think. And each one has a unique piece of music, and they're all incredible.
They're good.
Phenomenal. Only one of them is insanely famous, One Winged Angel, for obvious reasons. But not only are they all incredible, but I think of them as like the platonic ideal of final boss songs, because there's different kinds of final boss songs, and here you get all 3. The first one, Genova Absolute, it doesn't sound like a climb. It doesn't. You can tell it's not the final boss just from the way it sounds. It sounds like the beginning of something, of a climactic encounter, right? And what I love about it is it starts identically to the normal battle theme. Because the normal battle theme is right. It's in 4, but it starts in 4/4/4, but it starts with these quick triplets, or not triplets, but these 8th notes that are done in pulses of that are done in pulse 3. It's like little hemiola, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? Genova starts the exact same way, but it's actually in 6. Or actually, is it in 9? Yeah, it's in 6. It's in 6/8. But it starts with the exact same rhythm. So it's really cool how they're taking the basic battle theme and then turning that into the boss theme. And it's just very dramatic. It's very driving. It's not fun or exciting. It's like scary. And it really just represents just the intense will of these characters to really go and save the day, and their drive with this very, very driving 6/8 with these big, chonky, slow, this like slow melody that's just very heavy. It's a great piece.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you talking about how it starts with the final battle theme makes me think that we should play Final Fantasy VIII sooner rather than later, just so I can lose my bonkers.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII does this even better. But yeah, and for the record, again, like, I spend a lot of time thinking about these pieces of music, so I'm gonna... My contribution today is going to be saying something about the next 2 pieces of music. So actually, I don't know what to say about One Winged Angel. What can I say that hasn't already been said? It's great. But the other 2 are under-discussed.
Yes.
Yes.
They're just kind of in its shadow, I think.
Yeah,
like,
they absolutely
by the time
are.
they're done, One Winged Angel has absolutely replaced both of them in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely are. But I think
very good.
I think my favorite of the 3, though, is Genova Absolute. So
Understandable. It's all of the Genova themes are fucking fantastic. But yeah, this is really good.
So after fighting Genova, we fight another boss, and that boss is called Bizarro Sephiroth, which is pretty great.
Yeah, this track is my next favorite kind of final boss song, which is it's fun. It's not dramatic. It's not scary. It's like your characters are getting into the groove, and they've gone from like, oh no, we're scared, oh no, we're determined to save the day, to yeah, let's kick his ass. You know, There's a big monster, and we're feeling ourselves, and we're gonna fucking get him. Yeah, there's not much more to say than that. It's
good.
It's the first. I think it's the first boss song Uematsu ever really wrote to like have like a fucking prog rock synth keyboard solo. Which is, I guess the main boss theme of this game kind of has one, but this one really has one. And that becomes a big Uematsu thing in later games, right? So he's just Absolutely. Like, yeah, no, this is just a goofy prog rock song, and it's super fun. So you've got your dramatic, sort of narratively charged final boss song. You've got your fun, let's all have a good time kicking the boss's ass boss song, and then we have One Winged Angel.
Yeah, so we fight Bizarro Sephiroth, and it's one of those final bosses that has a main body, a head, a core, and right and left arms.
And 2 entire parties.
Yeah, so I was looking at this, and it says a number of conditions determine if the battle is multi-party. If a second or third party are used...
It's
blah,
conditional?
blah, blah. And I was like, what?
I've never had a second party.
I never knew that was a thing.
I've only played the game twice, and both times it was multi-party. Yeah, so what happens is
parties each
literally
time.
You have 2 entire 3-person parties, and you have like an option in your menu to switch which one you're currently controlling. So it's like a complex 6-person battle and they're standing on different floating rocks. So if you like push the switch party button, the camera like swoofs over to the other group of guys.
That's so cool and
multiple
weird.
parties and multiple parts. Honestly, the battle is a confusing mess.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's an extremely confusing mess of a battle.
You can apparently fight with 3 parties as well.
I just figured that's how it was. What are these conditions?
I don't know. I'm trying to look it up.
To qualify for a one-party situation, one of the following conditions must be met. Genova Synthesis achieved 13 turns or more before the ultimate countdown was activated. The lowest leveled character in the party is level 34 or lower. This does not count Eris, nor does it count Yuffie and or Vincent if the player has not obtained them. The average party level is 53 or less. In addition, one of the following conditions: to qualify for a 2-party situation, the player must not qualify for a 1-party situation. In addition, one of the following conditions must be met: either Yuffie, Vincent, or both are not obtained. The lowest leveled character in the party is level 44 or lower. The average party level is 67 or lower.
So it's a difficulty thing, basically?
To qualify for a 3-party situation, the player must not qualify for a 1- or 2-party situation. Specifically, all of the following conditions must be met. Both Yuffie and Vincent are obtained. Genova Synthesis achieved 12 turns or fewer before the ultimate countdown is activated. The lowest leveled character in the party is 45 or higher. The average party level is 68 or higher.
That's
wild. Really interesting. So
it makes sense that makes sense why I never got 3 parties.
More complex, depending on how advanced, not only how like high end level your characters are, but how advanced your skill is based on how you did in that Genova fight. That's weird and interesting.
Imagine having quote unquote skill at quote unquote FF7's quote unquote battle system.
In addition, the main body gets 5,000 more HP for each character at level 99, and it gets 60,000 more HP if you've used Knights of the Round before.
Oh, that explains why the battle always went on so long for me, because I don't think I've ever gotten to the end of the game without having Knights of the Round. Although I like how it says if you've used it before. So if you obtain it but don't use it, it doesn't have the extra health. That's fun. Wow, you guys only had 1 party? Skill issue.
Apparently.
So, some way or another, we beat Bizarro Sephiroth, and then the screen goes black, and you hear the beginning of that song. One Winged Angel.
What a banger.
Much like Final Fantasy VII in general, this song is often maligned as being kind of overrated.
Oh, it was.
It's not overrated. Like, it could be argued that there are better boss themes in Final Fantasy, but that does not matter. Yeah. This one fucking owns. It's extremely good.
If it's overrated, the only reason I would say it's overrated is because it is literally overrated by Nobuo Uematsu himself, who says it's the favorite thing he's ever written, and it's not the best thing he's ever written. Final Fantasy VIII's boss battle theme is better.
It is so hilarious that Uematsu has said that it's his favorite.
It makes sense. It's the most, like, corny, prog rock, cheesy schlock horror movie bullshit he's ever made, and he's a cheesy, corny guy.
I mean, let's be real.
Cheesier and cornier than Eternity from Blue Dragon?
That's true. It's not cornier. Well, he probably said that in Eternity before Blue Dragon had been made. And to be clear, when I say cheesy, corny, I don't mean it as a criticism. The song works.
Yes,
right.
It does.
It's also... I don't know if it was the first game to do this, but it was nonetheless very surprising for this song to include actual recorded vocals as well on a PS1 game with software instruments. Yeah, it pushed it forward, and that's something that Uematsu always loves doing. Like, the opera in 6 was, if I'm not mistaken, the first time that a video game, or at least a console game, had, like, attempted to emulate the sound of a voice. And then, of course, in the next game, he's like, well, now we're just going to put voices in. Like, yeah. I can absolutely see how it would be his favorite by that virtue alone.
Yeah, like, he's like, oh my god, we have actual... Although I also love how crudely it's done. Like, you can tell that this is a MIDI song with short little clips of actual real audio from a CD being played over it. And you can tell that the clips are being repeated because the characters, or the choir does have some parts where it repeats the same thing. Mm-hmm. And they'll sing it, and at the end, I think it's when they're saying, like, the Sozimanis or whatever, their S, like, cuts off awkwardly at the end, which if you listen, you can very hear, it's like, oh, that's the end of the audio clip. Like, they don't dismount their consonants all the way. Mm-hmm. Presumably because they were trying to cram this onto a CD, and use as little audio as little real audio as possible for space reasons. So you can hear these repeated clips, again, cutting in and out kind of awkwardly if you're listening clearly. Like, you know, they don't come in and out organically like an actual choir would. It's very funny how cornily it's done. Also, the song is through composed. That's a really big deal. It's through composed and is like, the loop is many minutes long.
Oh yeah,
it's like every section of it is iconic, and it's got, like, I mean, I could count them in my head right now if I wanted to. It's got, like, at least 7 or 8 distinct segments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a great piece of music.
And of course, we can't neglect to say that this is the boss battle against Safer Sephiroth. Uh-huh. Which is weird because he's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And he has an attack where he destroys every planet in the Earth-human solar system, including Pluto.
Which is definitely where we're all located in this game.
Yes, we are on human, real Earth.
Then it's just like, well, that did 2,000 damage to you. The destruction of the whole goddamn solar system.
That's the attack that leaves the party with 1 hit point, right?
Oh, I don't remember.
I forgot that. I made up 2,000. I don't remember.
Oh, I know. I was just adding on to that. Fun fact. One more thing about the music. First time I ever played this game was the PC version, which didn't have the vocals.
What?
Yep.
The original PC version did not have the vocals?
The original PC version is very weird in a lot of ways, because it's a PC port of a PlayStation game. Not exactly super similar hardware there. Nowadays consoles are just computers, so it's not as hard to do that kind of thing. The PC version is really, really weird for a million different reasons, and if I been with you guys throughout this whole game, I would have been peppering y'all with all sorts of fun little facts. But a big part of it's the audio, because guess what? Different computers have different MIDI capabilities back in the day. Like literally, like what version of like MIDI I don't really know how MIDI works on computers, honestly, or so I can't really speak to it. But whatever kind of audio synth a computer just has built into its OS or whatever is going to change how the music sounds.
Yeah.
And one thing though, it also just didn't include the vocals, and luckily the song is still really good even without the vocals. It's got some really nice little melodic lines that are underneath the vocals that you wouldn't normally be aware of. And that was for me. That was the original song.
I just screamed because I'm listening to it now.
Isn't it weird?
It's so wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The
percussion is so weird.
The main boss battle, the main boss song, "Those Who Fight Further" of this game is also quite different. Again, not sure if it was my computer or if it was just that the song itself is different, but it didn't have the main electric, the lead guitar line. It didn't have. So it's got the bass. It's mostly just like bass and drums and chunky, like other. I forget what sounds what all instruments are in that song, but it didn't have the main. Oh no, sorry, no, it didn't have the main synth, the prog synth keyboard line in the main boss battle song either. So, fun fact about me: the first time I ever played this game, this is the version that I heard.
The top comment on this upload of the PC soundtrack is just timestamps. The second top comment is, imagine my surprise when I learned almost a decade later that One Winged Angel had vocals.
Yeah. There's also multiple vocals. The original vocals, if I'm not wrong, there's some kind of either totally made up bullshit just that sounds vaguely Latin, or it is actually Latin, but like from someone who doesn't really know Latin, so it's just sort of gibberish Latin. But then the really famous fully orchestral version they released a bit later, actually they changed some of the lyrics to Japanese, if I recall.
Whoa. Wild.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, so that's fun weird fact as well.
So in similar, make it harder for if you've done the things, which like shout outs to this game for doing that. Literally no other RPG does. So you go and you do the hardest side quests, and you get all the ultimate weapons and the ultimate summons, and then you beat the boss in one hit, and it sucks. So shout outs to this game for actually making it harder. But if you use Knights of the Round, Safer Sephiroth receives an extra 80,000 maximum HP. But, and this one I think is wild, every time Bizarro Sephiroth's head was killed in the previous fight, Safer Sephiroth's max HP is reduced by 100, up to a maximum reduction of 24,900 HP. So if you just sat there and killed the head 249 times, you can take off a serious chunk of this boss's health.
Weird.
That seems
more
trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a speedrun strat.
No, definitely not.
All I remember is that this boss is not very hard if you have Knights of the Round.
Yeah.
This is kind of a tangent, but on the subject of weird experiences with this game's music, because I don't think I've mentioned this before. When I played this game for the first time, it was actually on okay. For those listening, before HDMI ports, we had to hook things up to TVs with 3 different colored plugs. Red, white, and yellow. Yellow was for the video. Red was for the right side of the speaker, the stereo sound, and white was for the left sound of the stereo sound. So
the hot new thing, stereo sound at the time.
Yeah, super cool. So I was playing this game for a while, and then I unhooked my PS1 and brought it to a friend's house to play or something, brought it back, hooked it back up again, and the music sounded completely different. And I was like, what the hell, what's going on? The TV I was playing it on was mono. It only had one plug.
Oh my God.
So I had it plugged in for the right side of the audio, and then when I put it back in just without thinking, I plugged it in with the left side of the audio, and suddenly the music sounded totally different.
Incredible.
It was so weird. And like, still to think back on it, that like your experience of a game's sound could be so affected by a weird quirk of the technology at the time.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it was odd, but it is definitely true that like if you listen to it in different ways, like without the lyrics in One Winged Angel or from only one side or something, you do tend to pick up on a lot of relatively subtle musical cues that you otherwise might not. There's a lot. The soundtrack's really good.
Mm-hmm. So the gang kicks Sephiroth's ass. Then in this, I'm just working from memory because I have the Final Fantasy wiki up, and all it says is once Sephiroth is defeated, a cutscene commences, interrupted by a short cinematic battle, and then the final cutscene of the game plays, ending the game.
Yep.
Wow. The like crater is collapsing and stuff, and they're like, "Let's get out of here." And Cloud's like, "No, I can feel it. Sephiroth is still here." And then you have a one-on-one fight with Sephiroth. He's in his human form, except he's not wearing a shirt. And it's one of those fake final bosses that Final Fantasy likes to do sometimes. Was this the first one?
I think so.
FF4 does not have it. FF6 does not have it. Previous games do not have it. I have not beaten 5, but I would guess does not have it. So yeah, first FF game to do this, and also Off the Dome, the first JRPG I can think of that has this, though of course it doesn't necessarily mean that it's first.
So basically you just have the menu and you pick Limit Break and you do Omni Slash, and it's a cool cutscene, and Cloud slashes up Sephiroth good. And then this is all happening in an abstract no space, and I forget how Cloud gets there. But then Cloud,
I think it's all happening in his mind.
Probably.
I always interpreted it that way as a kid, and to this day, I guess, as well.
So then Cloud sees a hand reaching down towards him, and it's clearly Aerith's hand. We know this for some reason, but then it turns out to be Tifa's hand, and he grabs it, and she helps him get back up on the ledge, and the crater is collapsing, and they're like, "Oh no, we got to get out of here." So they get out of there, and they're on the Highwind, and they see Meteor falling over Midgar, and it's like, "Oh shit, Meteor, we don't like that." And Meteor's getting real close, and there's like cyclones coming off it, ripping up Midgar. It's real bad. But then a sheet of white magic energy slides under Meteor, but it's not working. Meteor is
every time they call holy.
Meteor is like piercing through holy, but then the life stream like comes up and like starts flowing into holy, and we see Aerith for a brief moment, and then the credits roll
in a way that perfectly echoes the beginning of the game with her face appearing.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't her little her little theme plays there for a second?
Probably.
As a resident music person, I should mention that the music in this cutscene is terrible.
Yeah, it's not the best music in the game.
Uematsu had definitely not figured out how to make like cinematic music that follows like the cues of a movie scene yet, because that's not really a thing in any game until now because of the technology. So the idea of the music having to like a film score, like actually programmatically matching what's happening on screen. I guess this is kind of really one of his first shots at it, and it fucking blows. I'm sorry, Nobu, but this song sucks.
There is the brief moment where the hand is reaching out of the live stream to Cloud, and a few notes of Aerith's theme play before he grabs the hand, and it turns out to be Tifa. And I do absolutely love that moment.
Yeah.
Well, there's some good stuff in it, but it's got a lot of just like bombastic nonsense.
Right. Yeah.
And in Uematsu's defense, I think, if I recall correctly, by the time we got to Final Fantasy IX, he was a lot better at that sort of thing.
Yeah, 9
which is good because 9 has a
very well.
lot of cutscenes.
Yeah.
But anyway, credits roll. We're like, wait, what? What happened? Is there gonna be a ton of media to explore what happens after this? But then after the credits finish, we see 500 years later, and we see Nanaki, old Red 13, running through a sandy area, and there are 2 cubs with him. Not sure where they came from, because I'm pretty sure he was the last of his kind.
Yeah, but they also wanted him to mate with Aerith, so he probably had a human wife.
I guess. But anyway, he runs up.
Country red lions make do. That's all I'm saying.
Life finds a way.
It
That's
does. Right. So Red 13 runs up onto a cliff, and we see him looking out over the ruins of Midgar, now overgrown with vegetation. And it's cool. The end.
The end.
Yeah, the end. And then we get the credit music, which is much, much better than the ending cutscene music. Very nice piece of music, including the first ever appearance of the modified B part for the classic Final Fantasy prologue song. The prologue, the do 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 do. It's got a different B part here. It's instead of going bum 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 da 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 bum bum ba da 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 da, which is, it's fine, but it's a little boring. This is the first time it ever goes ba 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 da 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 do 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 do. It got that nice little lyrical part. And then it repeats and does it the original way. First time that appears in this game, and it was the way that they did the song from then on until I think FF12 brought back the original version.
And then FF13 didn't have it at all.
There you go. Yep.
So that's awesome. Final Fantasy VII. It ends sort of weirdly abruptly.
It does, yeah. I have mixed feelings on the ending, frankly.
I have mixed feelings, but it's important to remember, if I have mixed feelings, that means some of my feelings are good.
Yep. I think dramatically it's weird in its abruptness, but thematically I can't take any issue with it. I do
agree with that.
I think it rules. What I do think is bad is its use of FMV characters flapping their jaws while weird little subtitles appear underneath, and it looks super awkward because they had FMVs, but they didn't have voice acting. FF8 very smartly just never had characters talking in an FMV.
Right. Yes,
they did like the silent.
It was a fantastic decision.
Great choice. FF7
which they continued into 9.
So in FF7 you got these Red 13s just like opening and closing his mouth, and there's these weird little subtitles. It was awkward then. It's awkward now. It's weird. It's goofy. What else? What isn't? It's FF7. I actually have a thematic question for y'all. The idea that Holy wasn't going to be enough to win, but then Aerith basically saves the day by, I think you would say, convincing the live stream or convincing the planet that humanity is worth saving, basically. Thus, sort of wrapping up the thematic arc of the game. I think it's pretty obvious that's going on, though maybe y'all have different views. But why Holy isn't working by itself to begin with, I find interesting, and I never really heard anyone explain why. Because, according to the game's lore, it should, right?
I think I know what's up with that. Yeah. The characters are talking about Aerith when they talk about it, but they specifically say that the reason they have to take out Sephiroth is because he's blocking Aerith, and thus also Holy, the prayer that she was, praying, from reaching the live stream. Like Aerith and the effects of her prayer for Holy are in limbo until Sephiroth has gotten out of the way.
Is that how it's said? I thought it was the opposite. Like Aerith did complete her ritual, but Holy was literally just being blocked.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. The ritual was completed, the prayer was completed, but it wasn't actually, after Aerith dies and the prayer is made and stuff like that, it's supposed to go into the live stream, and Sephiroth was blocking it from doing that.
So was Holy just not working because
it wasn't reaching the planet, basically.
So was it just because they were too late, basically? Like, if they'd done it earlier, Holy would have been fine, but at that point, the meteor was, right there?
Apparently, somewhere, someone says it because everyone is quoting the exact same thing. Meteor is too close to the planet, so the gravity is fucking with things, and it's not enough to make it win.
Oh, there we go. So it's not for some big thematic reason. It's just for movie drama reasons. But that does mean that the planet has to make a decision about what to do of its own sort of spiritual volition, which is where Aerith comes in, and that's really neat.
Yeah, and I don't know this for sure, but I think she does it by time traveling back to the beginning of the game and causing Final Fantasy. That's where I think they're going. But we'll see.
But it is important to note that Midgar gets fucked the fuck up before Holy stops Meteor.
Yeah, y'all are doing it. I have to go in a second, but y'all are doing Advent Children, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah,
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I'm going to watch the hell out of that movie.
People apparently thought that this game's ending was ambiguous as to whether or not humanity survives. I mean, it is literally ambiguous and it doesn't show you, but I think that Aerith showing up at the end.
Also, after the credits, you hear like children laughing and playing, so it seems kind of obvious to me. Except also, I'm fairly certain that someone, Sakaguchi maybe, said that their interpretation is that humanity is dead at the end.
I wouldn't mind that as an ending, but I think that the visual cues don't say that. I think that would be a very interesting ending, actually.
I think it could be theoretically, but I really think that the game's themes are building up to like a reason for humanity's continuance, and so to do all that and then just be like, no, though, they're all dead now, would be
sorry, you guys suck too bad. You don't deserve to continue living. That wouldn't make sense, thematically. Although, again, like if the game was a different kind of game and a much darker game, it would be a totally reasonable way to end it.
Yeah,
and it would be very weird for like the dramatic eruption of the live stream, and then we see Aerith smiling, and it's like that is how we show that it didn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Like Aerith smiled and was like, cool, fuck all of you guys.
Yeah, well, the idea is that it doesn't work. The idea is that the live stream, I always thought the idea was that the live stream itself, it's not Meteor that kills all of humanity, because Meteor is a literal meteor. It's going to blow up the planet or not. I think it's that the live stream stops Meteor and also literally murders all of the humans, because the live stream, it purges itself of humanity, which again, that's not what happens, but that would be one way to go. Yeah. And also,
even in that case, it seems weird to end on Aerith smiling and then be like,
exactly.
Anyway.
Now, the game still does it. Yeah, I mean, Aerith is an avatar of grace, and an important part of grace is that you don't have to deserve it. Like, it's not about whether humanity deserves to keep living, it's that they are given the opportunity to. And then also they all get coronavirus in the movie.
Yeah. The real answer is that Holy only has a base spell power of 340, and Meteor has a base spell power of 800. So
that's right. And the reason why Aerith smiling would actually ironically kill all of humanity is because she accidentally caused a buffer overflow.
Yeah.
She didn't mean to. It just happened that way.
Yeah. She was trying to do Yuffie skip and messed up. So
yeah. I'm going to go now. I have a meeting. I wasn't expecting to be able to join y'all at all, so I don't feel too bad about having to leave.
Glad you could make it.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm glad I could get for like my fourth episode to actually be here for FF7. As a quick update, my extremely fucked work schedule is going to continue for the foreseeable future. Though it will at some point go back to normal, though I just have no idea of saying when. So at some point in the future, I might pop in again, and we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, this game's good.
It's very good.
It's so good.
The ending like kind of sucks compared to the rest of the game, and I did not necessarily think this the last time I had played it, but playing it this time and learning to love the parts that I didn't like so much in the middle of this game, and then today when I was playing it, I was like, yeah, disc 3 kind of is a hallway and 3 boss fights, and then they roll the credits, and it's a little more than that, but it's still like, it's similar to what we were talking about with Resident Evil 4 earlier, where it just kind of ends abruptly, and you can tell that like they just were out of game, and it kind of feels like that here, which doesn't mean the game is bad, but it just, compared to the rest of it, like it's not as good.
Yeah, it's a really common, or actually I think it's becoming less common, but at the time and for a long time, and even up until recently, and sometimes even still now, it was a common problem. Like you could almost feel the directors or someone higher up in development saying like, hey, the cutscenes are going to move us into more gameplay, more content, but the last one doesn't do that. So like slap something together. Just, this is just the end of it. The game's done. Throw something in. Like it happens, or happened especially a lot. And this is, this is definitely an example of like, I don't mind the ambiguity or even the abruptness on some level, but I think it pretty definitely would have benefited from having a bit more time and effort to flesh out what's going on.
Yeah.
The end result is bold, and I gotta appreciate something being bold.
Yeah.
Even if maybe something less bold and more something else might have been better.
Yeah, I think if we didn't have, after the credits, 500 years later, Nanaki and two pups running through a canyon, and instead you had like the team looking out over a destroyed Midgar or something, it wouldn't just be so weird, but it just kind of is like, oh, this big thing happens, and then you see Aerith, and then you have Desolation 500 years later, and that's just the question mark it ends on.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I guess it is showing Desolation, but also the planet reclaiming Midgar is a good thing.
Yeah.
Just the fact that it might also mean that all of humanity is dead makes it a little weird. But I feel like, I don't know. It's cool though.
Mm-hmm.
IMO.
For me, for a game, for a story to have an ambiguous ending and that to be an actual good thing, it needs to be thought-provoking, not just as a general buzzword, but like specifically, the ambiguity has to prompt a person who just finished the story to think about what the story, to think about what that ending means in a way that directs them toward what this story as a whole means. And for this one, I think that it did, because the game has been building up these concepts of like, what does it mean to be a person, to be your own person? Like, what is it that makes you and the people around you and humanity in general innately valuable? And like, there's a whole sequence before they go down into the crater of everyone talking about their motivations and finding specifically personal reasons why they want to do what they're doing here. Not just like, oh, well, we need to do this or whatever. Like, they could have just been like, hey, the planet's important, we have to save it. But no, each of them comes up with a very specific reason why they want to protect or help something or someone in particular that matters to them and to the concept of their identity that the game's explored up to that point. And so it really feels to me like the game, like the ambiguity here, is specifically making the player ask, okay, so is humanity safe? And if so, why? And you have to go back and think about what these characters have said about who they are and why they fight and the reasons why humanity exists and should exist beyond the simple idea that you should prevent loss of life. So like, I think it works on that front, even if it's kind of clumsy in some ways.
Yeah. And I think being more fair to it, in the same way that like the Mass Effect 3 ending is abrupt and weird if you count the ending as everything after all of the like last cutscene, like after Shepard gets hit by the laser. But if you count the ending everything after you land in London, the ending's amazing, and you get all of the checking in on people and all of that stuff.
The shit in London rules.
Yeah, so if you count London as the ending of the game, then it's not an abrupt ending. It just has a weird artsy ending. And similar here, it's harder here because the part where I would want to count it from the ending happens at the end of disc 2. But if you count it from the crater is open and we have all of these conversations with the characters and they all say, I gotta go. Sorry, I can't stay here. There's something more important. And then they all come back anyways. And then you go and you do the final boss. That ending is a lot better. But there's a disc change that happens in the middle of that makes it harder to remember that that's what just happened. And I think that was what had happened to me today. Is I just picked up from the disc change and nothing happened, and then the cutscene. But
yeah. I think there's, like, when we talk about elements of story structure, it often kind of changes depending on whether we're talking about, like, narrative structure or thematic meaning, stuff like that. And I think that thematically speaking, and in terms of character stuff, the climax of the story is not when we beat Sephiroth. It is when everyone leaves, finds their purpose, and then comes back. They make that decision, right? To, like, okay, we're doing this now. Like, we have reached our, the apex of our character arcs. We have made our decision and we are going to act on our convictions now. Because that important decision by the protagonist, or protagonist in this case, is, like, thematically where that climax comes in. But yeah, it definitely does feel more like the ending is from that point, and the disc change being where it is. I think you're right. It does kind of hamper that a bit.
Yeah.
It's weird that this game has the best fucking disc change ever. Also this dick change, yes. The best fucking disc change ever, but also this one.
Yeah. But also, we are in a post-Soprano society now.
I
back in the day,
The Sopranos, but I know it was divisive.
Yeah,
the ending.
I wasn't necessarily talking about the ending. I was talking about Prestige TV, and prior to Prestige TV, your season finale was a cliffhanger, and the season premiere was the resolution to that cliffhanger, which makes no fucking sense to me, but also could be why you have the beginning of because technically this kind of happens with Aerith's disc. God damn it, Bernard! I got me saying dick change.
I'm sorry.
Aerith's dick change doesn't happen right when Aerith goes. It happens when Cloud is has his little talk after.
And could you imagine if it showed Sephiroth falling down and then switched to disc 2?
Oh god,
the worst.
It's very important that we don't change the dick until after Cloud has his little scene.
Yeah, but the placement of it is not like Final Fantasy VIII. Squall dies, and that's the end of disc 1, and then you put in disc 2, and he's okay. Actually, that's very much more future and different than how this one is, and so it just the disc change wasn't a chapter change for Final Fantasy 3. Why did I call it 3? Final Fantasy 7, as it was starting with 8, continuing into 9.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it is worth noting, I feel, because we're talking a lot about how disc 3 is a weird missed opportunity, and that's not wrong, but there is a lot of content on disc 3 one way or another, because it has pretty much the entire world open to you. You can do pretty much everyone's ultimate weapon quests. There are super hard weapon boss battles, harder than the final boss battles that you can do. There's a lot still that you can do, and some even that contributes to the story in interesting and potentially significant ways. It's just that the actual story, there's very little of it, and that, if anything, just kind of contributes to a problem that I think exists across a few Final Fantasy games, because it happened to me in 10 also, where a lot of the really cool stuff that you definitely want to try and do is only doable as of the moment between the big climactic lead up to the final encounters and the actual final encounters, which means that if you want to go around doing everything, all of that dramatic setup is pretty much wasted by the time you're actually going in to finish the game. So, like, it's definitely a mixed bag. It's not that the third disc is lacking in things to do. It's just that narratively it messes with the pacing.
Yeah.
Also, it's a little weird because if I recall correctly, disc 3 starts you're not on the world map. You're already in Northern Crater.
Yes.
You have to actually choose to go back to the world map, and you might not even realize you have that option.
Especially because Sid says that he crashes it. He doesn't say that he lands it fine. If you go back to talk to him, they're like, "Oh, looks like we can still fly this thing and get out of here." But in the cutscene, he's like, "Oh no, we're going in for a rough landing," and then everybody gets down off of it, and it's like landed on a rock. It doesn't look like it's a nice landing.
I don't remember that part, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, but yeah. It's weird, but it's obviously good enough to get a follow-up movie and a follow-up game and a prequel and then a follow-up trilogy of games. So,
and don't forget a few novels or short story collection and a novel. But one thing about that is, like, we talked about how the ending's ambiguous, and I think that's cool in a lot of ways. But the problem is, like, Advent Children came out in 2005. I didn't play this game until probably after that. So, like, I knew stuff happens later. Yeah. So, presumably, there are more characters left alive than Red 13.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Advent Children is about Red 13 having his 2 children.
Yeah, yes. I think that Advent Children, definitely
sexually reproducing.
I mean, in all fairness, Red 13 was said to be the last of his kind by Hojo. So, like,
a Hojo famed truth teller.
But yeah, I think Advent Children definitely canonizes a certain ending, but also Sakaguchi wasn't involved by then. So it very much could have been like just kind of them wanting to do that. I don't know if he specifically would have done that, but it wasn't entirely his. I think that Sakaguchi's sensibilities and storytelling is a really, really big factor in Final Fantasy VII, but it's not all of it. It wasn't an auteur thing. So, yeah.
Man, remember the Final Fantasy VII PS3 tech demo?
Yeah.
I just watched it, and it's hilarious how much better Final Fantasy VII Remake looks.
Yeah.
Which,
I watched that so many times back then. Like, yeah, we're getting a remake. We're getting a remake. This is so cool. I'm so excited for. And then, what was it? 12 years later? It was over a decade that we finally did.
Yeah.
Well, it was the tech demo. It looks like was 2005. E3 technical demo for PS3 E3 2005.
Yeah, it was 2015 when it came out. So it was,
I think, 12 years later, the remake was actually announced.
Yeah.
And then it was, I'm pretty sure it was 2017 it was announced. And then it was 2020 it came out, right?
It was 2015 when it was announced. I saw it earlier.
Wow! We had to wait a while.
They definitely did do an announcement long before they actually started putting out info and stuff.
Remember how... Wait, let me just check something. Remember how they announced The Elder Scrolls 6 in 2018?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they sure did that.
We've had a long, long time since we got a cinematic trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh,
and
that
then
doesn't
a long,
count.
long time after that, when they made an actual longer trailer and gameplay that looked kind of bad, and then just still nothing since then. So, and as someone who absolutely loves Beyond Good and Evil, let me just say that I'm still mad. So,
I say it doesn't count because I never believed it would actually happen.
But I want it to. It should.
I mean, it'd be cool.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt came out on stage and begged people to give them free labor. Of course it was never going to come out.
What if Michelle Ancel even doing anymore?
He's not working there anymore because apparently he was kind of a dick. So that's unfortunate.
Oh dear.
Yeah. He got kind of like toxic workplace.
No.
Yeah. And see, admittedly, that is, if there is any reason why I wouldn't necessarily want it, it's because the last trailer looked so little like Beyond Good and Evil that then not even having the creator of the original game involved, I don't necessarily have faith, but who knows?
But I vaguely recall from 2005 that the King Kong game was good.
It was actually, yeah. I'd say that before that, of the time when we were getting a bunch of cheap, straight to shelves movie tie-in games, it was one of, if not the best examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was good.
Anyway, Final Fantasy VII is good.
It's
really good.
It's very, very good. We've said this and variations on this so much over the course of this, but like, cannot stress enough that this is not just a beloved nostalgia game. It is a genuinely extremely good game. There are elements of it that are a little awkward with time and coming from the localization and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that someone who's only been playing video games from the last few years is going to hop into this and just have no problem getting into it. In some ways, it is dated, but even so, I think it holds up really well. It's not dated in any ways that make it like hard to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like some old, like I tried playing Ultima 4 a while ago and it just straight up like you have to like type certain commands into the computer. It's like, it's borderline unplayable if you're used to any kinds of games from like the last few decades. Final Fantasy VII is not like that. It is dated in some ways, but it also is just a good and intuitive enough experience that it is a great game, and it holds, like, even today it is a great game. I love that out of it.
You said Final Fantasy VII was intuitive, and my brain immediately leapt to climbing up the Midgard plate and trying to jump onto the swinging bar.
Okay, yeah, fair. My point just being that you're not going to open up the game and be all like, what do I even fucking do? This is so weird. Like,
yeah.
It's...
So
it, for the most part, functions in a way.
Can I complain about something real quick?
Go for it.
This is an only positive Yeah, go ahead.
This is not complaining about Final Fantasy VII. This is complaining about Wikipedia.
Oh.
So I went to the Wikipedia page for Final Fantasy VII just because we're talking about it, and why not? They have a screenshot on here of Sephiroth killing Aerith. So
that is actually how I got spoiled on it. Yeah, because when I was playing the game for the first time, I was just like, oh man, I fucking love this. I'm going to look stuff up about it, and, there you go.
Wild.
Like, even if you try and scroll past parts that are talking about the story, you still see Sephiroth with his sword, and Aerith is dying, and it's very clear what's happening.
Yep. We've talked about it a bit, I think, but like, I definitely, and I know that a lot of people just don't care about spoilers or think that they actually enhance the experience or whatever, but like, I think that the idea that because the game is old, it's not something we should try, that like we shouldn't try to protect the experience for people who haven't played it anymore is a weird thing that is directly in like conceptual opposition to the very idea of a classic. Like, this is a game that a lot of people have not played because it's old, and a lot of people that are playing video games now weren't even alive when it came out at this point. And it is a very, very good experience. And I understand that particular spoiler is so widespread that it's very unlikely that someone will come into this experience without knowing that. But I want to give him a shot, honestly. Like, I think it's a great moment, and I think it would be fantastic if more people got to experience that fresh, So, like, yeah, I agree. That's annoying.
Want to hear my hot take?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So there are...
Actually, no, I changed my mind.
Well, too bad. So there are a large group of people who are slightly older than we are who will say that Final Fantasy VI was better than Final Fantasy VII, but Final Fantasy VII was just more popular. I love Final Fantasy VI. It is not even close.
Yeah, so the thing is, I've gone back and played all of or part of Final Fantasy VI a few times, it's never quite as good as I remembered. Final Fantasy VII was way better than I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting because I've been meaning to replay 6, so I'll keep that in mind. That's interesting.
So yeah, I think 7 is better than 6. I haven't played 6 recently, but
Yeah,
I think, I mean, 6 is amazing in a lot of ways, but
I think 6 is like the best representation of like RPGs of the Super NES era. Like, I think it does so many good things. Chrono Trigger might be better. That's probably tied.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say 6 is my favorite personally, but I think Chrono Trigger is kind of objectively the most impressive example.
Yeah, but they're both like fantastic, but they both kind of, like, I don't really have words for it, but they do Super NES RPGs, and Super NES RPGs are not JRPGs. JRPG has very much changed from Final Fantasy VII onward, and for the most part, for the better. And like, Final Fantasy VI is really, really good at what it does, but I think it ends up being, in retrospect, kind of mid because the game gets changed so heavily with Final Fantasy VII that the average thing that you can bite into in a post Final Fantasy VII JRPG is better than 6 or equal to 6. And this is not knocking 6 down at all. I think it is the best of everything that came before it, but I think the drastic changes that JRPGs undergo because of Final Fantasy VII, I think 6 just doesn't compare.
I will say I can understand on some level because 6 is incredible. It is absolutely one of my favorites. I love the hell out of it. And like you said, it is the best example of Final Fantasy in that old format before 7 brought it to a new one. And so I can understand why people would love it, and especially if there were elements of 3D Final Fantasy that they didn't like, I can see why that would stick out as the best one to them still.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to replay 6 with this in mind, but I agree there's just a lot more that 7 can do, not just in a technological sense, but in a narrative sense because of those technological advancements that, 6 was doing the best it could, but there are some ways in which it just isn't capable of telling a story quite as strongly.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that 6 is like weak in any of that because I love 6, but yeah.
we talked about in our Chrono Trigger episode about how fast of a clip it moves, and it gets through so much in a fairly short RPG. And I feel the exponentially more space that you get on a disc versus a Super NES cart, where you can have Cloud and Tifa have a quiet conversation about their feelings before the final thing, instead of Ted Woolsey had 16 characters in a text box to be able to characterize Shadow. So he just is like, he'd kill his own mom for a nickel, and that's it. That's all you get. And then you keep going, and moving on type thing. And I feel that change there just makes the average one where people can just talk about shit just as good or better than 6.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't want to be killed in the comments, unless of course those comments are on www.rpgbook.club and you donate $1 to yell at me. But
I'll try and take some of that heat by saying that as much as I understand people appreciating 6 more, I do think that plus the critical reevaluation of 7, which as it is a normal and healthy thing, but as usual overcompensated significantly, revealed a lot of problems. The same thing tends to happen with old versus 2D versus 3D Legend of Zelda and such too. Like there's a lot of kind of, things were just better in this old version that I played and liked better. involved in that. And there's also a lot of weird misattribution. Like, I know people who say that they don't like the sci-fi elements of Final Fantasy, and they're so annoyed at 7 for introducing that. And I'm like, Final Fantasy 6 is a fucking steampunk game about how magic is evil. Like,
yeah. You start on a robot in Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah. There is just no way. Like, the aesthetics of 7 are maybe a little more sci-fi, but it is absolutely not the introduction of science fiction to, well, you go to the moon in Final Fantasy 4. That game is not sci-fi themed very much, but like, it is not like 7 just randomly introduced technology into this or whatever. Yeah. Not at all. And, you know, just there is a lot of dumb stuff in that conversation also, but yeah.
Luckily, I feel like we eventually have come to a point where everyone is like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII rules.
Yeah. Eventually it evens out. You know, we get past the point where everyone has to be like, oh, actually, it wasn't as good as everyone thought. And to a point where we can just appreciate it for what it is. And what it is an extremely damn good game. Like,
what it is the best video game of all time.
But we don't need to prove anything, like how it's the best thing ever or how it's actually not the best thing ever, like everyone else said. I think that, you know, just once we get past that point, we can look at it a bit more objectively, and it's just real good.
I hope that pendulum swing completes for Final Fantasy VIII soon, because Final Fantasy VIII is really good, and its systems are weird, but in a good way. And people are loving on 9 and loving on 7, and I want some Final Fantasy VIII love.
I was gonna say, it's weird that pendulum swung back for 9 before it did for 8.
Yeah.
For that matter, it kind of did for 10 too. I feel like 10 is kind of in the process of it still. The old, like, oh, the laughing scene is so bad nonsense did so much damage to its reputation that I think we're still kind of recovering from that. But like, yeah, 8 is starting to get that back, I think, but I feel like it hasn't gotten as far as either of the 2 games directly after it, which is weird.
Man, when are people going to realize 13 owns?
Actually, I was going to say we're coming back to that, too. Like, I made a video about how great Hope is recently, and it was also part of another person's long video about why 13 is actually really good. So, like, we're not there, but we're working on it. Hope is an extremely good game. And everyone is like, oh, the child keeps whining about how he watched his mom die. And I'm like, fuck off. That's, of course he is. He's a kid.
I watched my mom die, and I'm doomed to an existentially horrific fate.
Like, shut up, kid. We all have problems. Like, I just don't. 13 has a lot of problems, but the characters aren't. It's one of the best casts in the series, I honestly think.
Fantastic characters.
Yeah, some great character writing in there. It's just good. Yeah. The plot's a bunch of convoluted bullshit. I still don't know what happened in it, but the characters are fantastic. So, like, and I'll take that over, like, 12, which had a really interesting political story and, like, 2 characters I gave a crap about, but...
You say Final Fantasy 13 is convoluted. Have you played 13-2 and Lightning Returns?
I haven't yet. I want to replay 1 and then do those eventually.
Those are where it gets weird.
Yeah.
But they're great still. And when are people going to realize Final Fantasy 15 owns?
I have to finish that one still, actually.
I think a lot of us do.
I need to do my retroactive...
Sorry, what?
I was going to say, I need to do my retroactive replay of it so I can like it more, because I didn't play it right when it came out, but I saw everybody loving it when it came out. I played it after a couple of DLCs, not all of them were out, and I didn't like it, and I had my naysay opinion. But now that everything's over, I want to play it and realize that it owns actually, because I didn't not like it. I just was expecting it to do a Final Fantasy and have some sort of a raising of the stakes and changing of things, and you're just 4 dudes driving in a car the whole game.
See, that's the thing, is that when I was playing it, I loved that part. I loved chilling with my dudes, and like all of that just slow, leisurely stuff was so good. I liked the 4 guys. I liked just driving around in the car. I liked being able to drive around to Final Fantasy music. I liked pushing my car, which was out of gas, to a gas station minutes away, to One Winged Angel playing over the radio. Like, that stuff was great. The rest of the story stuff I was invested in, but I don't know how well it all goes. Actually playing it, I didn't enjoy very much. So like,
Yeah.
when it came to combat in particular, and like a lot of the open world elements, like I just, so I need to finish it.
Yeah. I also need to play it again and do all the DLCs and all the stuff to get the full version. Like, I think I had played it after the new chapter 10 or whatever, where you can play as Gladio. I had played it at that point, but the Royal Edition with the expanded ending wasn't out yet, and the third of the party member DLCs weren't out yet. So it was a very odd time to say it. I didn't get the raw version, and I didn't get the like finished version. So it's a very odd time.
I only played it when it came out at release, before they made it good. And I loved it.
Yeah.
And I want to replay it and play all the DLC, but the problem is I'm not going to find time to do that before Final Fantasy 16 comes out. And then Final Fantasy 16 is going to come out with its combat designed by a fucking Devil May Cry designer. Mm-hmm. And then I won't be able to go back to Final Fantasy 15's combat, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I remember being fine, but I have a feeling 16's is going to be better.
Yeah. 16 is going to be dope.
I am really looking forward to it for sure. Anyway, We've gotten really off tangent. Should we talk about Men Moms? Off topic, rather.
Yeah.
Oh, should I talk about Men Moms?
Yeah, did you have something to say?
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I have plenty. One, I think technically this might have been part of the last, I don't know, whatever. There is a conversation before... oh, no, because, yeah, okay. So there is a conversation before they actually go down to the crater, when they're on the high wind, and they're all talking about Aerith and kind of what she means, and the fact that they are fighting to there's a moment, this whole conversation is something I really love, because I feel like in a lesser game, the plot point that Aerith has not been allowed to return to the planet could have been an opportunity to turn it into a quest to get her back, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, she hasn't fully returned to the live stream yet, maybe we can like pluck her consciousness out of there and bring her back or whatever. But that's like, it's not even a thing. No one ever brings it, like, it's just not how this works. And the game is so much about like moving on from these kinds of things and the significance that someone has, not because they are still here, but because they were, and because the meaning that they created while they were here still has meaning now. So to make it specifically about fighting Sephiroth so that they can allow her to move on, so that they can let go of her and allow her legacy to affect them as it stands, is really cool. The whole thing about like death and the significance of who we are and how it continues afterwards is just such a... This game does it real well, I think, and this last conversation is one of my favorite bits for that. Like, the whole fight against Sephiroth is quite literally us fighting to let go of this character who traumatically died. Like, that's the goal of it. And that in doing that, that will allow, for a happier ending. And that's just great. That's amazing. I love that. I will say one thing that I was a little disappointed in: the ultimate weapons. I mean, look, you'll find me complaining all the time about like Final Fantasy X and how I had to dodge 200 lightning bolts or whatever, but like 7, I feel like one of the major ways that JRPGs do character development and storytelling through the mechanics is by tying the weapons and equipment and such that the players use to who they are in one way or another, even if it's just fighting styles or whatever, right? Like that's a really common and basic way that these games do that. So like to get Tifa's ultimate weapon, you go to a vending machine in the Midgar slums that had previously like not worked and shot a gun at you for trying to do it. And then, you know, you can go in and get it now. Like, what does that have to do with Tifa? What does that say about her as a character? Like nothing whatsoever. It is bizarre. You have to talk to some random shop owner in Rocket Town 3 times to get SIDS. Like it's in Rocket Town, but it doesn't do it. Like it doesn't relate to him in any way. I feel like there's a big missed opportunity here where we could have had little character quests or something. Maybe you get Yuffie's for finishing the, I actually forget how you get Yuffie's. So now I'm afraid to say it because maybe it is how you get Yuffie's. I don't know. Point being, like, there could have been ways to do this that gave us more to work with the characters and left us with an ultimate weapon as a symbol of their ultimate character development, or at least just added something even. But, you know, instead we mostly just kind of get, go to a random vending machine that you got shot at before.
Or like, even at the very least, instead of you go to the vending machine, you go to the ruins of Seventh Heaven, or instead of talking to some random shopkeeper, you talk to Sarah. Like, that's the bare minimum you got to do is just, if you're at 80% of the game and you go to check on these people's side quests, you get a special dialogue box and an ultimate weapon for being curious. Like,
even Vincent's is weird because, yeah, you go talk to Lucretia and everything, but then, like, you leave, fight 10 battles, come back even though no one told you to, and then it's just there. Yeah. It's weird.
I think that and this is not the only or last Final Fantasy game that does this, but I think that there is a preference for almost like Souls-like ambiguity, like in how all the, like, yeah, you fight 10 battles and then just come back with nothing indicating that you should. That's weird. And even, you know, again, this isn't the only game that does that. Like, I don't know how you were supposed to know the 10 lightning strikes thing in the 200 lightning strikes thing in Final Fantasy X, let alone that bullshit in 12 where there are like 5 random unmarked chests that you're not supposed to open to get them. Like, there's a lot of just weird, random, how on earth would anyone ever know this intuitively stuff that tends to happen in these. And that's largely phased out by now. But yeah, I feel like they were prioritizing that over actually using these things to develop the characters further. And I just think that's a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another missed opportunity. You can, first, because the whole thing is actually great, you can get a flashback with more detail about Zack and Cloud. If you go back to the basement at Shinra Mansion, after you get Cloud back from the live stream, because I don't think we talked about this.
No, we didn't. I didn't bother with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just nice. You don't need it to understand anything, but it just shows some of the downtime, you know, that Zack getting Cloud out of there, being on the run, just some downtime while Zack's like talking to Cloud, trying to take care of him while Cloud's still out of it, and then eventually Zack trying to protect Cloud from a bunch of Shinra goons and getting shot. And it's nice. It's a nice little, like, it's a good scene. It's a nice bit of background, but there's a really nice touch. That's another really small thing that just means a lot to me. Because in this cutscene is where we get, the info that Zack really likes doing squats. It's a random little detail, but he really likes doing squats. And he,
because that's an animation we've already made.
Yes. And he, there's a point where they're on the back of a truck and Zack is doing squats at the back of a fucking truck. And he says something like, sometimes I get car sick or something, but I do some squats and that makes me feel better. There's a bit earlier when Yuffie is first on the airship, when she's like throwing up off the side of it because she's getting air sick, and Cloud says, just do some squats. That'll help you when you're feeling that way. And this is after Cloud like remembers Zack and such, so it's not just like some latent thing about Zack that he's internalizing as himself. Like, we have just had this situation where Cloud is separating Zack from himself, and remembering who he actually is, but we get this really, really nice little detail of like he's still like Zack still means something to him. Zack is not gone. His effect is not gone. Cloud is passing on wisdom that Zack gave to him to his friends to help strengthen them. And, it, you know, again, tiny little detail, but it's really nice. I liked that a lot. So let's see. I have my notes highlighted about the hand coming down and Aerith's theme and then it's Tifa thing, which, you know, I really like on account of just, you know, like, yeah, Aerith's hand, because she is significant, but also Cloud's support in this world is now Tifa, so it goes to her. And yeah, okay, I think that's pretty much all of it. It's a good game. I like it.
I like Final Fantasy VII.
So I like Final Fantasy VII's commitment to not giving a shit about the scale and anything of its game world. In this final FMV, big dramatic thing, the camera swoops in to wherever we left Marlene. I forget where she is, but it goes to, and she's obviously in the second floor of like a normal in-shaped building, and it comes up to the window, and the window opens, and we go and we aside and we see Marlene. Then she goes to look at the window, so we cut to her looking out the window, and suddenly she's in like fucking Rapunzel's tower, just over the entire rest of the city, and like her head is like the size of the whole rest of the tower that she's in. That was definitely not a tower, and just the second floor of it in like moments before. It just wildly vacillates between different extremes, and it's like, didn't you not like create this in whatever 3D program you're animating it in now? Why didn't you just move the camera? Why did you animate a new one where the scale is fucked up? Like, it's so weird and so bizarre. And I loved it.
That was in a Calm, by the way. I wanted to be sure of that. But yeah, Barrett says that they moved it to Calm just to be safe. And that is, yeah. It's not a place that they were able to go in Calm, so, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I do love also the detail that Marlene recognizes Aerith in this. It's a small thing, and if I remember right, Advent Children kind of extrapolates on that in some ways, but or brings it to logical conclusions. At least I don't think it's like specifically references it, but it's just, I don't know. It's nice. It's a nice detail.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like this game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's good. It feels like so much more of a cohesive and thematically functional story than games had mostly been telling up to this point. Not entirely, but mostly. Like it really just brought things up to another level, and it's good.
Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to say before we stop talking about Final Fantasy VII, except for the fact that it comes up in basically every RPG conversation ever?
Well, and we're still going to talk about its sequel movie.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I will defend Advent Children's honor. That will be my role.
Yeah, I'm sure it owns. I'm fully prepared to. I have never watched it.
Oh my God. Okay.
I think it was playing at an anime club meeting that I was at, but I was there to hit on girls and did not actually like pay attention watching it.
What kind of nerd were you? The one girls instead of watching a Final Fantasy movie? Come on.
Well, it was watching a Final Fantasy movie for a game I hadn't played. I famously played Final Fantasy VII for the first time in like 2016.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But that'll do it for the week. If you like what you heard today and you want to help us offset the cost of running the show, head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where any and all donations are put back into the show to make it better, offset hosting costs, pay for games, those sorts of things. If you donate $1 more a month, you get access to our Gadabout tier, where you can get access to the Book Club no Kiseki episodes a month before everyone else, as well as be able to vote on our polls that decide what game we play next. That we just wrapped up our poll this time, so our next game after we watch Advent Children will be Skies of Arcadia. And if you bump up your monthly contribution to $5 or more a month, you'll get our Warrior tier, which also gets your name shouted out at the end of every episode. So shout outs to Floris, to Kaledrawn, Freddie Rodriguez, Bernie L. Taylor, AA Ron 524, Anthony Lerma, Vimk, J Fro Prime, and Doho. And if you really like us and bump your monthly donation up to $20 a month, we'll not only read your name, but also read a 1 sentence shout out to whatever you want. The idea is for this to be a URL for you to self-promote or to just make me say something stupid. Our first luminary, Eliza Tantavi, wants you to check out the Tabletop RPGs for Trans Rights in Florida bundle on Itch.io. So if you go to Itch.io and search for Trans Rights, it'll probably be the top hit. That's still open for 10 more days at time of recording. So go in there and get your things. It's 505 tabletop RPG items for $5, which is pretty dope. Our other luminary, Carr, is a dentist, so his shout out is not for a Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I am Sam, the game professor. And since it's the last one, I'll just say, if you liked anything that I said this time, just head to YouTube and look up Games as Lit 101 or Games as Literature. You'll find my content there, including an 1.5-hour deep dive into Final Fantasy VII, where you can listen to me say all the things I said here, but better because I scripted it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We love to have you on.
Yeah, I love being here. This is a fun place to be and fun people to talk to.
Yeah. Shout outs to whoever made the meme about introducing your two passionate friends to talk about things. And then I responded with a joke that I would love to have Maddie and the game professor yell at each other. And then you were like, I'll do that for $1. And then you popped on and did Lunar with us. And now you're back for a second one. So shout outs to the unspoken hero of RPG Book Club for bringing us together. But yeah, that'll do it. Toodaloo, folks.